Hi, welcome to another episode. My name is Lucy and this is Relatable with Lucy. Thank you so much for tuning in, for liking, for sharing, for commenting, and for all the feedback that you have continued to provide. Please keep it coming and let's continue with the conversation. Now, in the last few weeks, we have talked about children and issues affecting children. And we realized that adverse childhood experiences have got a potential to adversely affect the trajectory of a child's life. But it doesn't have to be this way, because with mentorship, with a social support system, and a caring adult in the life of a child, this can change. And so today we look at mentoring as a strategy to mitigate the effects of adverse childhood experiences. Keep tuned in.
Yeah, so today we host Rev Habib, who is going to talk to us about mentorship and the importance of mentorship and social support to teenagers and children that are living in difficult circumstances. So welcome, Rev Habib.
Thank you. As a pastor, I was exposed to a scenario where I visited an environment where truck drivers stop, and therefore there was a lot of what you called commercial sex going on in that place. And we as a church decided to take that on. And in a project I called Reaching Out the Four Walls of the Church, I kept challenging the church community. We need to get out of our four walls. So when we started outreach into this particular community, I found out soon that I took over several roles. We would clean up some women who are very sick, some were suffering from HIV/AIDS. Some of them would feed them as a church. Sometimes they were so sick that I would end up taking the role of a father in families where there is no father. One time there was a lady who was sick. We took her to see a doctor, and then the child was also sick. She was a girl. So we also went in together with her. So as they wanted to inject the girl, the little girl ran out of the nursing station, and I had to run after her because the mother was very weak. And as I was running after her, she kept screaming so loud that, "Daddy, Daddy, don't let them give me the injection." So I imagined I'm a pastor. I'm chasing this little girl who is running away from giving me an injection. What would people around here think? And then it just occurred to me, and I felt God speaking to me. Are you not a father for this girl at this point? And I realized that my roles had changed. So I became a father for the fatherless. I became a big brother for those who felt like they have nobody to show them or to give them direction. So in the course of our regular outreach in this community of women in prostitution, one time God spoke to my heart to be an example. I talked to people about helping. I came across two girls who were in class 3, or what we call grade 3 and grade 4. And they were growing in this environment with their parents. And imagine if these were my girls, how could they grow in this environment to be safe? Because what happens there is when the parents of these girls become sick, very soon they hand over their clients to their children. Some intentionally and some unintentionally, even without knowing. You start realizing that your clients are getting attracted to your children even without you knowing. And therefore, as a result of that then, I felt in my heart to do what you call steal the girl away. So I took these two girls and I took them to boarding school. And since then, I became their father. I would visit with them. Their mothers would go, but I would visit with them. And every time they close school, they also become part of our family so that they can know what it means to live in a whole setting of a family. Yeah. It makes a very big difference because there, they go into the normal family discussions. They have someone to call dad.
Yeah.
They have questions to ask about boys. And right now, as I speak to you, from grade 3, they are now in high school. They are in their 3rd year in high school.
Wow.
And I'm glad, and I know, and I can tell you because I was in that environment. If they were still in that environment, they would now be out of school, and maybe they would even be having children out of school.
And I think that is one of the impact of adverse childhood experiences. And definitely what you're doing changes the life of a child completely. Yeah, and very commendable. In what ways do you think, if that you did not pick them up, or you did not decide that I need to have them as my children, in what ways do you think that life would have changed them?
Definitely, I can tell you, from those who were not picked out, these were just 2 out of over 100 or over 1,000 girls who are in that place. And I can tell you truthfully, from those that I left there, some of them already have children, some have not finished school. I know them because they are my friends. I visit there and I see. Some dropped out of school, even some that we tried to help to go to school. They were able to go to school, but because they were still in the same environment, they were exposed to other things that they were out of their control, and they were still young. People take advantage of them. So I can tell you, some of them have also been inculcated into commercial sex. So they have taken over, because some of their parents have died, and they have inherited the business of their parents, what their mothers used to do. So essentially, what I was fearing, I have now come to see practically. And I often wish there was a way I could have been able to take in more of these girls.
You're definitely occupying your space in making the difference that, every one of us would want to see. And I keep saying that we can't afford to be bystanders. Every one of us has a role to play. There is what you and I can do. And maybe in this respect, what is it that you would want to say to other people out there in terms of just helping to change the trajectory of a life of a child that would potentially be impacted by adverse childhood experiences? What would you say?
Make the difference you can. Some of us have an extra room, an extra coat, an extra cloth, and you think of it, now can I go out there and start feeding all the children? No. The same thing, I started an outreach of, we found right outside our church where we were in one of our towns, there were street boys that used to sleep near the church. And therefore it occurred to us, these boys in the night, they turn out to be thugs. So what can we do as a church? And it just occurred in me again, why not go and make friendship with them? So I started making friendship with these boys. And then, I would find them cooking in their small tin, dirty, but they invite me to have their food. I had to lower my pride to eat what they were cooking in the small tin containers at the roadside.
Getting down to their level.
Exactly. And then they loved bread. So I discovered now if I want to eat healthy, I'd rather bring my own food. So I started bringing bread. So I would bring bread and we all share. We all share the bread. So what happened? It turned out that when the church saw what I was doing, the church stepped in and they gave these young boys a room once a week. Every Wednesday, they would come, shower, wash their clothes, and we also have an opportunity to talk to them, moral change and even behavioral change. And we started seeing the impact because we did what we could do at that time. We never had a place to keep them. Then someone saw what we were doing, and then what happened? They took them to school. As I'm talking to you, one of these young men who was sleeping in the street was so brilliant that became a university student doing biochemical engineering.
Just imagine if you just stepped back and said somebody else is going to do this, somebody is going to attend to the children, someone else is going to help them, the children would not have been helped. I mean, their life would have been desolate and needy, but it was really commendable that you did that. So I think that every one of us has got a role to play, and none of us can afford to be a bystander. It doesn't matter that the child does not belong to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You remember the story of the starfish? You're picking one starfish at a time, not imagining all these starfishes, they will die here. if no one throws in. But you can, the one that you throw into the water, that's the one that will live. So I believe we have that responsibility.
Yeah.
And if you can, do what you can when you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be monumental. Just do what it is that you can. I like that you said, you know, if you have a shawl or a jacket or whatever it is that you're able to give, just do it.
Because someone else will pick up from where you left it.
Yes.
Yeah. I did what I could.
Yeah.
And someone else picked whatever they could.
Yeah, so I hope we'll be having more conversations around this, Rev Habib, and thank you so much for coming to speak to us, and we really appreciate the work that you are doing.
Thank you.
God bless you.
It's a great honor. I appreciate it.